Ja, sehr geehrte Frau Vorsitzende, sehr geehrte
Yes, Madam Chair, ladies and gentlemen MEPs. This is a very dramatic event for the whole of Europe, and Michael O'Leary said, I mean, if this Brexit had happened in France or Germany, this would have happened quite differently. And I think that for the Lufthansa group, there could be thorough and quite terrible consequences. Now, of course, we'd be delighted if everything were to go back to stage one and this weren't to happen at all. But of course, we've got the European market, we've got open skies. We'd like to keep that. For 25 years, the single aviation market has been in action in Europe. A few weeks ago, the European Airline and Airport Association advocated on the 50th anniversary of the Treaties of Rome that this cannot be the future of Europe. There was an enormous campaign. This was before the elections in the Netherlands and in France. Things have got better since then. But now I am here in the Transport and Tourism Committee in the European Parliament. I have to think about the G20 in Germany. There they talked about free trade, but also about fair trade. And what we've seen from this body in terms of legislation on passenger rights, etc., if we were to look to the east and not to the west, people who fly to China, to Japan, they should have their rights guaranteed when they fly with European carriers. But they are no longer protected if they fly back with a non-European carrier, for example, Japanese airlines, and the same with emissions trading in Europe. If we, as Lufthansa, fly Berlin, Frankfurt, Beijing, we have to pay for emissions trading. But if it's Qatar, from Berlin via Doha to China, we don't. And what we don't want to see is legislation where we all have this open skies market, but it's all about, of course, passenger rights, emissions trading, freedom of movement. We don't want this to apply to the European airlines in the EU, but not others. Open skies, yes, an open area for all, but there should be a level playing field. The legislation that you make in this House must apply throughout anyone who runs aircraft services in the EU. Now, we had strikes in Germany, and the cost basis of a European airline in Europe must be focused on our hundreds of thousands of employees that are employed by Lufthansa here in Europe. There should be no disadvantages to our way of operating airlines. We have been able to use the single market to be able to invest with Austrian Airlines, Brussels Airlines, Air Dolomiti in Italy, even in Switzerland, but there's similar legislation everywhere. And we all want to stay together. This is what has really been advocated by Lufthansa and British Airlines, but what we don't want is for different legislation to apply within the single market. So it's very important that, well, we very much regret Brexit. I mean, we would quite like to have been able to invest further in the UK, but these are all things we have to consider. Open skies and new legislation, yes, but a clear community, a key legislation from Brussels, Strasbourg. We don't want a sort of second class, if you will. We don't want to be disadvantaged as EU carriers. We want to use the advantages of the single market, but others using that single market should also be subject to those rules. That's the clear view of the Lufthansa group. Now, in for a penny, in for a pound, everything could stay as it is, but the same rules should always apply. Thank you.